Hello, my name is Jane Scanlan and this is Coffee with Jane. Today we're going to be talking to Charlotte about another health and wellness professional, and we're going to be going into confidence, healing, transformations, book authors. We're going to be doing the lot. In my business, I work with women to help empower them and get them into get them into being super confident and having an easy transformation and a balanced life. Sorry, I have a new puppy who's down here, and I was like, what is that noise? It's my puppy having a nightmare. So I don't know if you guys can hear it, but if you can, that's what it is. And I run an online business called Cherish, Transform and Upgrade. Charlotte, would you like to introduce yourself and your business, please?
Yeah, so I am Charlotte Fitzgerald. I am a mum of two. I am a Pilates instructor, health and wellness business owner, and lover of all things mindset, positivity, and law of attraction. My mission is to empower mums to look good, feel great, and to be the best version of themselves, basically. So pretty much what you're doing too.
Yes. I am a mum of one as well. I forgot to mention that. 8 years old. How old are your kids?
So my son is 8. His name is Oliver, and my daughter is 6. Her name is Lily.
Oh, lovely. My daughter is 8 and she is Scarlett. Do you find when your kids came along, it was a massive learning journey for yourself, but also as they grow, when they learn, it's like I relearn, and they she's really opened my eyes up to pleasure and excitement and wonder, the wonder of the world.
Yeah, I think I've found that I think some things I've learned the hard way, because after my kids came along, I was suffering from postnatal depression and anxiety. So I think to some degree they were the only thing that was keeping me going at that point. So they give your life purpose. And also when I've been going through the transition, it's almost like they are mimicking your behavior, but with a time delay. So so say for instance, I was suffering with like anger issues and stuff, then I started to sort myself out, and then my son started doing it. And you're like, how does this work? Now you're angry and I'm trying to be calm, like what is going on? But my daughter is completely different to my son. So my son seems to mirror a lot more of me. My daughter does in bits, but she, being the younger one, loves everything. Everything is amazing, and she's empathetic, something I'm not. So she's like, she just seems to be a completely different version. But yeah, I think they do make you like bring the pleasure back into things, and make you appreciate the smaller, simple things in life as well, which I've been doing with them as well, because I'm someone who is very kind of interested in, the universe and the stars and the planets and, sunsets and all that sort of stuff. Yes. So I kind of get them to embrace that as well. So yeah, I think it kind of goes hand in hand. We do help each other, but yes, with parenting, you have to learn on the job. I have learned a lot about
Definitely.
Myself. I've learned patience. I still don't completely have it nailed, but I'm a lot more patient than I was. And also not to be scared of soggy food. I absolutely hated anything that was soggy. So like soggy bread or anything like that, I absolutely hated it.
Porridge.
I still do dislike it. No, but more like something that's not supposed to be soggy.
And then has gone soggy, right? I got you.
So say for instance, if you've got a burger and then the grease makes the bun soggy, no. But when a child goes to you and hands you something they've half eaten in your hand, and you go, oh my God, what have you done? Hate soggy things. It's the worst possible thing ever. So that's helped me overcome that fear just a little bit.
Actually, mine was kind of heights, and yeah, and and anything like fairground rides, that kind of stuff. Like, I still don't want to go on a roller
No,
coaster.
I still don't.
But I've been on little mini ones now with her. But yeah, heights. I'd kind of felt like I'd conquered my fear when I was traveling, like 20 years ago, doing treetop walks through various, I don't know, jungles or whatever. But then because I didn't keep up that kind of adventure side of life, I slipped back into my sort of London ways, not really going out doing anything too adventurous, you know. But since having her, she's a climber. So at like 3 years old, I was in a park and, you know, play park. And I was like, oh, geez, where's she gone? Yep, she's up the climbing wall, like
Oh.
9 foot up. Like, oh my God. But you don't want to pass your fears on to your children,
No.
do you?
No.
So instead of, in my mind, I was going, oh my God. But instead I went, go on, you can do it. You've got 2 more and you're at the top.
Yeah.
And she got up there and she did that about 4 times. I was like,
Oh, fabulous.
amazing. But then you get the question, Mummy, come on, you coming?
Oh my
okay, I'll
God.
try.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has really pushed me to, you know, just take those steps. And if I'm scared, she'll just talk me through it. It's really sweet.
Oh, that's really cute. Yeah. That is very sweet.
So we are both co-authors in the upcoming book, Voices of Hope, which is being launched on the 23rd of November. It is fast approaching.
Very fast.
How has your experience been of writing your story? I know we can't go into too much detail about what our chapters are about, but how's the experience been, and what are you hoping to impart on the readers, the viewers, through this story?
So for me, I think it's been an experience because it's something brand new to me. So it's something I've never really done at all. So first of all, trying to put everything into words. I think when you first sit down, you try and kind of plan it out and you think about it. And then in the end, I was just like, do you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to just offload it all and then strip it back after. Funnily enough, though, after I'd done that, and it had been edited, I realized I'd missed a chunk out and had to go back again. And I was like, oh gosh, that's a vital bit. I kind of left that out. One thing I noticed that when putting my story into place and going through the editing process and rereading it recently is how far I've actually come.
Yes.
In just 4 years. And yeah, it's definitely been an eye-opener because I think sometimes we're very, very busy with life that we don't really appreciate our growth and how we develop as individuals through, you know, trauma and stuff like that. So yeah, that's definitely been a massive, massive eye-opener for me. In regards to what I kind of want to come from it, so my thing is more to, you know, empower women who have probably been in the same situation or similar situation, just empower them and give them hope that it is okay to go through that and to get through the other side of it. And sometimes when you are in the midst of it, you do feel like there is no other way and there is no other option, but you've just got to believe in yourself, try and stay positive and be honest with yourself. So it's something I said to Brenda with my interview of her, you know, the key is taking responsibility of your part that you are playing in that situation and being brutally honest with yourself as well. Because I think sometimes it's very easy to sugarcoat it and to blame other people. But when you realize that, you know, it's your the decisions that you have made that have led you to that, and that it is in your control to come out of it, that's when it kind of opened you up a lot more to the other side of it, basically.
Yeah, definitely. A few things that kind of popped up for me then when you were talking, explaining, the process, the transformation, was that we often, like you say, we don't praise ourselves or give thanks for how much we have transformed and how much we have succeeded, because a lot of the time we're always on to the next thing and the next thing, and it's a process that I work with my clients of stopping, reflecting and reviewing the process. And by doing that, I really think it slows down time, because it's just that stop process, and you're able to see week by week, month by month, year by year, how much you have transformed. And you're able to, when you do that reflect and review process, you can see the lessons that have been showing up for you that week, year, month, and sometimes we learn them really quickly, and other times they just keep coming back. But with the review and reflect process, you really get to they kind of stand out, flashing lights.
And I think another thing is when you see like bad habits repeating themselves as well. So like you were saying, lessons that keep coming back up. I think sometimes it's because we haven't learned from that lesson, so they keep coming and they're like, okay, how many times do I have to show you that you need to react differently to that situation? I mean, 100%. It's only recently in the last few months that a few things have been brought to my attention that have made me realize that some bad habits had started to creep back. And like my self-worth had slightly gone down, and I wasn't thinking from my side. Do you know what I mean? So I think, it's always good, like you were saying, to have that reflection and that review on what it is, and, be honest and be like, okay, right, we've dealt with this before and it didn't end well when we went that way about it. But if we try this way, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think it's about really realizing that you do have options. And I think that that's something that a lot of people don't realize, that they do have control and they do have options in their life. I think they feel like they're stuck in a rut, but you're only stuck if you feel like you're stuck. And that's something that I'm going to be talking about a little bit more in a live video that I'm actually doing on my page this evening, which is about how your state of mind can affect your life. So I'm quite basically going to be reflecting a little bit on some things and some behavioral things that have, affected me, and how you can kind of get out of it a little bit.
Yes. And I really feel that when you've connected the dots and you've seen the lesson that has been showing up for you, and you make that choice to make the change, and then lesson learned kind of thing, I have found that the universe almost tests me about 3 more times just to make sure I still really are you sure you don't want this negative energy in your life? Because you've been keeping asking for it all these years. Are you sure you don't want it, Jane? Be like, no, we're going to do this way of, going to behave this way. And then it will come in again. Are you sure you don't want this? No, I'm fine. I definitely want this now.
I think it is. It's all about how you react to a situation. And like I said, that's something that I have really, really learned, that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And do you know what I mean? It's how you embrace that. And whether you choose to complain about that lesson and become a victim, or if you think, do you know what, we've been faced with this before and I did this to get through it. Do you know what I mean? And that, I think that's all part of the learning curve with it, really, is starting to adjust those bad habits, and flip them on their head, basically.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry. So with learning and relearning kind of all these life lessons that we have done, and transforming over the years, how would you say that your confidence levels have changed throughout this process?
So would you say over the last 4 years, would you say? Through
Yeah,
my
what's your
journey.
sort of, because with me, I've kind of got different blocks of life. I'd say I've got like 4 real clear different lifestyles that I've been through. It's like about every decade something changes for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, how it if you give us the markers, you can tell us how your confidence journey has been through your life. That'd be fantastic.
So I think for me, I don't know, it's really hard to try and put it. So I think as, say, a main one, probably be as like a teenager, I didn't have any self-belief. I didn't have any confidence. My idea of love and how somebody showed they care about you was very wrong and very distorted, which I'm slowly starting to realize why. But it's over then, and then probably I think that kind of carried on into my 20s. And I kind of just pulled the wool over my eyes, kept repeating the same mistakes, not really realizing. It probably wasn't until I met my kid's dad that I really probably felt love, probably for the first time. But then it turns out that that was not quite it itself. That was more an infatuation side. So I've probably learned from that. I think it has to be learning from my old patterns, because I returned to a toxic relationship that if I was in the correct state of mind, I wouldn't have done. And I think through my personal development and stuff like that over the last probably 4 years, that has really, really changed for me. Made me realize that I am worth a lot more, and that how we project ourselves as well is a clear indication of how people are going to react to you. And yeah, I think it's very reflective like that. And I've learned I've learned a lot about myself. Oh, 1 second, sorry, turn that off. Yeah, I've learned a lot about myself in regards to self-love, what it is that I actually want from individuals, what I need to obviously do myself, and the work I need to put into myself as well. And I think that's key. You've got to constantly be growing, because I see a lot of people around me that stay, like I said earlier, stay in a circumstance because they feel like they have no control. So it's really hard to try and
or no choice as well.
That to people as well. It's really hard when they're closed-minded. It's really, really hard to, because then they think that you're all being a bit woo-woo and a bit strange, you know. But when you've experienced it yourself, you know, you're coming from a voice of experience rather than just saying it for the sake of it. But I think the personal development and the stuff you put into yourself helps to kind of clarify that. So it gives you more clarity with what you're doing and how you should feel in certain situations. And like we both said as well, with having kids, you know, when you see your behaviors mirrored, negative or positive, because I have, like I said, I've seen my negative behavior be mirrored back to me, and you go, oh gosh, hold on a minute. Or a certain thing or attitude that has been said, and then you go, oh my god, you can't say that, and you go, oh, you learned that from me. Do you know what I mean? So then it's just having that, taking the responsibility for that and thinking, right, okay, well, I don't want that to happen again. So yeah, I think life is a constant learning curve, and it's really key that you learn from the lessons and you don't make the same mistakes again. Obviously you will sometimes, depending on the situation. I think, you know, in general, love life is one that we all make the same mistakes over and over and over again. But I'm definitely trying to break those habits.
Yes, I think we've both had very similar lives actually, because my late teens, I was very well, my teens, I was quite angry. I had a very nice childhood, but I don't know, the hormones and whatever else at teenager, I was done. I was done with school. I was quite angry with authority in general, didn't matter what. So I went out a lot with my friends. I couldn't understand why my mum was not happy and would not let me go to all these clubs at like 15. And yeah, so I was very much, fighting the law. I was a bit of a rebel, and I was definitely looking for attention in the wrong places. And then that went on. Well, my 20s were actually, because in my teens I was surrounded by a very good group of friends. So although there was there was definitely some drunk mishaps. Jane drinking far too much. That was very much back in those days. I've actually not drunk anything for over 3 years now. But yeah, it went into my 20s, and actually in my 20s it got worse, because whereas in my teens I had that attitude, like I don't know, I just had a different attitude. I had attitude, full stop. But when I went into my 20s, it was more, I suppose because I'd done it, I'd lost the kind of fight, and then I was in just the needy, sort of victim-y mode. And it always was around relationships, trying to find the one. Naturally, when I started my healing journey, and perhaps you can tell us about your healing as well next, please. When I started it about 20 years ago, it was after coming out of a emotionally and physically abusive relationship when I was 21. And I knew I had to get help, and I started going to a homeopath and taking homeopathy. Now the patterns didn't change, but I never had as bad relationship as that one. I never had that was like the worst. And then the ones coming forward were they were still fairly dramatic, but without the physical abuse and without too much emotional abuse. And just the kind of drink and drugs addictions, because if you can't go out and have a good time without drinking drugs, then there is an addiction there. Although
it's almost like you're trying to cover up and be somebody else, isn't it?
You're not good enough to be yourself when you're out. So I can't have enough fun being normal. So I've got to take this stuff, and then we're going to get and then we're going to have a good time.
That was probably my 20s as well, until I met my kid's dad. So I think I had my first child when I was 25, I think, which funnily enough I think I manifested, because my whole life I'd been saying that I wanted to have my first kid by the time I was 25, because I thought being 25 I'd be mature enough to have a kid. I think I was 23 and I was like, am I going to have a kid at 25? I'm not with anybody. And then my kid's dad came into my life probably shortly after that, funnily enough. We'd known each other previously. And then, funnily enough, I was pregnant at the age of 25, which was really strange. So it actually happened.
Exactly the same thing. I always said 32. 32, I'm going to be 32. Yes.
Wow.
And I was.
Manifested it.
I know. Trouble is, I didn't kind of put in all the other markers, like, someone who was going to be really good, and we were going to be good together and stay together. And I forgot about that bit.
That's
just said
the
I was
thing,
going to have a
isn't it?
baby at 32.
Yeah, it's those key details that we forget. Definitely use those key things. But in regards to probably my healing process, that was a big journey in itself. Because like I said, I suffered from anxiety and depression, so postnatal depression. I have a background when my mum suffered from postnatal depression as well, so obviously I have a background with that. My kid's dad was depressed as well, which is where our relationship fell apart because we couldn't support each other through it. We were butting heads all the time. But for me, obviously, like I said, I was part of this really kind of toxic relationship. And it wasn't until my personal development, so listening to a lot of, Les Brown and Tony Robbins, probably Mel Robbins as well. So people like that, and listening to a lot of motivational videos, and basically just getting down and just doing some work and just seeing that I could do stuff myself without anybody's help. Because I'm quite an independent person, as annoying as it can be to some people who want to help. And I'm trying to learn to get people to, if they offer help, I'm trying to at least take it once in a while, rather than running myself into the ground doing it all myself. But yeah, I've always been very kind of stubborn, to the point where I wanted to get it all done myself. But I think, I don't know, it's really strange. I think it was probably, I could only say it was probably the personal development, and then realizing slowly but surely that, the relationship that I was in was making me worse. So what it is that my personal development would get me to a point where I felt quite positive, and then my partner would knock it down again. And then I'd build myself up, and then it would get knocked down again. And I think it was that realization that something could unfold that quickly and turn so negatively that quickly after all, how, feeling. Because I think once you've had that positive feeling, you don't want to go back to that negative feeling. And when you realize what that cause is, obviously you want to get rid of it, which, with it being a toxic partner, is not that easy to get rid of. So I had to develop courage, and I had to make myself realize that there was more than that relationship, and that it wasn't going to serve me in the future. And I had to just keep pushing and keep pushing and keep striving for myself, keep developing for myself, realizing that that person would never be good enough for my children as well, was a key thing too. And the support from my friends as well. I'm someone who has never been the most popular person, but I've always had a tight knit, like, small group of friends, which, some of them have changed over the years, but I've always, once I've got some close friends, they do stick around for quite some time. And they really helped me because they told me how it was. Not that I listened every time, because I'm, naturally a rebel as well. If you tell me to do something, I'll probably do the opposite on purpose, which I'm slowly learning is not always beneficial, because, people give you advice for a reason. But I think for me was, I got to the point where I started always asking for advice, but I wasn't listening to my own thoughts and my own advice. So it started to get really distorted, and I wasn't actually sure what my friends were telling me and what I was actually thinking. So I was almost rebelling against what my friends were telling me. But then I just stopped asking for advice, and I was like, right, now is the time for me to realize myself, take myself away from all of those distractions, and just really focus on myself, take responsibility for my actions.
That's a major key, taking responsibility for all of your actions.
Yeah. And, I realized that I was playing a massive part in that as well. So yeah, I think that was key for me. It was developing courage, taking responsibility for it, and my personal development. That's what really, really kind of got me out of it. I'm still, I think we're all on this roller coaster ride where we still have our good days and we still have our bad days. because we're human at the end of the day.
Yeah. And the thing is, that will never change. And if life was
I think it's realizing that as well.
sunshiny and smooth all the time, we'd be bored.
Yeah,
because there'd be no up, but there'd be no down either.
Yeah.
And it is just about nowadays. It's like, oh wow, I learned that lesson really quick. I'm really proud. Or I was able to have that conversation and speak my truth through love, not through kind of self-hate. It was through self-love. And you slowly, it's practice, isn't it? Practice makes perfect. And the more consciously aware you are of your thoughts, feelings and behaviours, the more you can walk the earth consciously as well.
And I think it's, for me as well, was getting rid of the negative self-talk. So it got to the point where I was just like, I was on this journey, and I was just every time a negative thought came out, I imagined myself physically pushing it away and saying no, literally telling myself off, and then replacing it with something else. But I'd literally just, as soon as it came into my head, I was like, no, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. And then I would flip it, and utilizing, mantras and affirmations, and, just really trying to, almost at that time, I think you're trying to fool yourself into it, but then it becomes real, because you're going over those bad habits, and you're just replacing them with better ones.
Definitely. So let's leave our viewers with a few words of wisdom. So for me, taking responsibility for your actions and your part in the world is a big key towards confidence and self-love. So taking responsibility, stopping and just breathing and taking a look around. I call it, when I'm coaching people, profile your life right now. So stop, breathe, look at your life right now. What are the bits you focus on the most? What bits are you kind of leaving out and not spending any time on? What you love, what you want more of, what you're not feeling anymore, what you want less of. Really take a good profile, and then move forward consciously. So it takes a second to make a choice or a decision. Not decision, a lot of people procrastinate about decisions. So it takes a second to make a choice, and you have unlimited options. And if that way doesn't work out, you just get another choice. So don't procrastinate over all those decisions. Just make a choice. So they're my little 3 words of wisdom to the viewers. What would yours be, Charlotte?
This is when it's off the cuff and you're like, I don't want to overthink it too much. So for me, it would probably be, like I said, I'm all about kind of trying to empower women and also to empower mums, more specifically, because I am one. So it's just about kind of focusing on yourself as well. As mums, I think we kind of get lost in motherhood and we forget to look after ourselves. So I think self-care is definitely a good thing. The way you speak to yourself as well is very, very key. And really think about where you want to go and where your life is going as well, beyond children, because the children obviously will always be there, but they're going to turn into adults, and then what are you going to do? So I think it's very key when the children are growing up to be working on yourself constantly, so that when they do fly the nest, you've got something that you're doing, that you're focusing on for yourself, and don't forget about yourself as well. I think that's very, very key from me, really.
Yes, that is perfect, because we are the center of our own universes. Thank you so much, Charlotte. I feel like we've had a good old coffee with Jane, and there was moments where I forgot we were recording.
I know.
I thought it was, we're just having a great chat here. So thank you so much, and I can't wait to meet you at the book launch, which is you can DM either of us for to find out more about the book, to find out about tickets for the launch, which is November the 23rd at the De Vere Hotel in Windsor. We shall be there having a fabulous time, and we would love you to join us and the other 28 co-authors, all women, telling their story to help empower other women around the globe. So thank you. And if you'd like to connect with either of us, if you look below, all of our website details and social media details are below as well. So please connect with us both and message us about the book you'd like to message us about.